Hey everyone, so in this video I wanted to take a look at another package on the Unity Asset Store, this time Cartoon Army Vehicles by Polysquid. I purchased this one a couple nights ago. It is currently just under $20 USD, so I believe it's $19.99, so $20 USD. So if you do purchase this, you would download it in the normal fashion that you'd go to Window, you would choose Package Manager, and then you would download it from the section called My Assets. So two things we're going to do. We're going to look at what this includes, and then we'll do a quick example of how to implement this or how to add it to an application that you might be working on. So let's go ahead and go to the folder that is created when you install this, so the Cartoon Army Vehicles, and we're going to go to the preview. As you can see, it's basically the same set of tanks repeated 3 times, just with a different color palette, so it's a palette swap. So you get a spawner or some kind of base, but more than likely that's what you're going to use it for, is that's where the tanks are going to spawn from. And you have a variety of tanks, and I do want to point a couple of things out, that these are actually multiple objects. So you have children and parent objects, which means you can actually independently rotate the top. So it's very useful if, say, you want the tank to travel in one direction, but able to aim it in another. And that's true for the other ones as well. So very useful. Next, we have some trucks. You could mix and match sets together. So maybe you have another set that has soldiers. You could put the soldiers in the back of the truck stops, and the soldiers jump out. This also can be animated independently. So the back here does indeed you could do something like that, tilt it up, and then this could fire out missiles or whatever you wish to do in your game. And then more futuristic versions, same thing. These top parts can be animated. And we have some Jeeps as well. Also have a landmine, some flags, maybe doing capture the flag, and then like a supply crate. This could be dropped from a plane. And then when it breaks open, you have several objects, like you could get fuel, you could do a repair, you could get shields. Okay, so that is the preview, the demo scene. Now let's take a look at how you'd implement this into your game. So let's go to this that I made earlier. And this is just the plane that I threw a texture onto, so you don't need to see that. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so anyways, what you would do is you would have one of the spawners here. So you go to your cartoon enemy tank. And now for some reason, even though they have a prefab folders, this does not contain the base. So if you come to the base folder, the prefabs are here for the base. Why they didn't put them all together, I don't know, but that's fine. It's not a big deal, as long as you can find them. And that's kind of the purpose of this tutorial. Now, something I do want to point out that's also very helpful is the origin or the pivot is the very bottom of the object, because sometimes the pivot is in the middle and then you have to like calculate the distance to figure out where to place it. Well, since this is the bottom, you know exactly where to place it. So like the ground here is 0. So you would put this at 0, knowing it would be exactly on top of it. And when I say 0, I'm talking about the y-axis. Okay, so by default, it's actually facing away from the camera, so we'll just rotate this towards the camera. Doesn't have to be, you can have them spawn in different directions. But this just makes it easier to detect if it's working. Okay, so we have our spawner. What are we going to do? We're going to put a script on it that tells it to spawn tanks. So we're going to take tank spawn and put it here, and then we'll open that up. Now, since this is only going to spawn one object, I'm just using a single variable. If you're going to have this spawn like 5, 6, or 7 different objects, then you would want to use a list. And I did a demo of that, I believe, for the turn-based battle system, the RPG turn-based battle system. I showed an example of using lists, but since this is just one tank, I figured I'd keep it nice and simple. So public game object enemy tank. So that's right here. That's how you create that reference in the inspector, because it's public. In the start section, we say start this coroutine called enemy spawn, which is right here. And the enemy spawn does 3 things. First, it waits 5 seconds. Then it instantiates that object. at the position of the object the script is attached to using the rotation of the object the script is attached to, which makes sense. You'd want it to spawn and be facing out the front of the spawner. You don't want it to like drive through the side or the back. Because when you spawn an object, you can spawn an object using, say, the rotation of the object itself that's being spawned. But again, in this case, we want to use the rotation of the spawner. And then the last line simply says do over. It's just saying come back here and run this all over again. So this is an infinite loop. So not bad. You now have handled spawning using just 6 lines of code. So that's fairly efficient. Okay, so if we can't quite run this yet because we need to put a tank here. So we'll go back to our folder. We'll put our tank there. And now we should be able to run this. So it's 5 seconds and then should spawn. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing is we want that tank to now move out in that direction. Now this is where things get a little bit messy because for some reason the front of the tank is not the front of the object. So if you look at the tank, okay, you would think this is the front. It isn't. The front is actually one of the sides. I believe it's that. I believe that is the front of the tank moving in that direction. Not a big deal. I'll show you how to adjust for that, but I just wanted to point this out because it makes the coding a little bit more awkward because normally you would just say move forward. Well, you can't say move forward because this thing would be gliding to the side. So I kind of wish that the developer had thought about that because these assets are generally made for the purpose of being used in games. I'll reach out to them to see what they say. Maybe they can modify it because I believe all they'd have to do is re-export the object from whatever they designed this in. So basically they'd rotate it in that modeler. And if you know another way to get around this, feel free to leave it in the comments. All right, so we said that this is the tank that's been linked and gets spawned. So it needs at very least a rigid body. You probably could use a character controller, but we'll use a rigid body since it's going to be controlled by the computer. We're not going to use gravity. And then we just need a script to tell it what to do. So we'll put the tank con script on it. And we'll open this up. Okay, so this is what it should look like. Get component, rigid body velocity, transform forward, and then ×2. This is simply an arbitrary modifier. In other words, how fast you want it to go. This could be a small number. This could be a large number. It could be a variable, so you can change it over time. But this should make it move forward. But again, because the side of the object is the front, this would actually make it move sideways. So no big deal. We can adjust. We would do this. So I didn't just want to put this out there and have it be confusing. I wanted to explain why it wasn't dot forward, why it's dot right. So get component rigid body velocity equals transform dot right times -2. I believe you could also do dot left times 2, 6 one way, 1/2 dozen the other. So again, very easy. Now, if you wanted this to chase after the player, you'd have to also use a look at command. But I don't think I'll go that far because then we have to create player controls and things like that. Okay, so if I haven't forgotten anything, that should work. I believe I saved it? Yep. Oh, by the way, you also, obviously you don't need both of these here. The double / lets you know that it is a remark, that it is not going to be executed. And there you go. And I think that's about it. And just in case you think I'm fibbing, we'll flip this and you'll see that it's going to like travel sideways. See, for whatever reason, the side of the object is actually the forward of the object, the front of the object. So I think that's about it. So that's a quick example of how you could implement this into your game. You certainly could do other types of game with it. I remember there was an old PC game called Scorched Earth where you would have two tanks and basically you would have a range of munitions and it was just whoever could hit the other one first. Maybe I'll do one more tutorial separately to show you how to do that. And if there's anything else you want to see, just let me know. So again, this is on the Unity store. It's by, I believe I said Polysquid. Let's just double check the name. Yep, Polysquid. Currently 19.99 USD, so $20 USD. And I hope that you found this useful. If so, please consider leaving a like and comment if there's anything else that you'd like to see. And I do post videos fairly regularly, so please consider subscribing as well. And I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.